welcome back. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful. We are in the studio today working on our vintage grunge journal. So if you are joining me for the very first time, welcome. I hope if you like this video and you find it helpful, please give me a thumbs up and click on subscribe so that you don't miss out on an episode. Yesterday we reached 2,000 subscribers, so thank you everyone. I'm overwhelmed. I had no idea how this would go. You know, this has been less than a year. I've only been junk journaling for I think a year next month. So I just had no idea I would be starting a channel or that anybody would watch. So again, thank you. In the last series, I did a drawing at the end of the series because I had reached 1,000 subscribers, and it was Happy Mail that were lots of parts and pieces and the DigiKit and everything from the last project that I did. So I will be doing the same thing for this project. All you have to do is make a comment on any of the episodes in the series, and then about a week after the series is over, I will do a drawing, and the winner will get all kinds of goodies from this project. So this is episode number 6, I think, and what I'm doing is a junk journal from scratch, including the cover. It's something I haven't done yet. I've been doing kind of the stacked envelope journals and other altered books and that kind of thing, but I hadn't made an actual hardcover. So the first episode covers the inspiration and kind of my prompt list and that sort of thing. My inspiration for this one is, if you're just joining me, I'm going to kind of quickly cover what I'm working on. Is it was based on a ghost town called Bodie. So I knew I wanted to do something really grungy and more neutral color wise. The last project I did was a very brightly colored bohemian exotic travel journal. So it's a completely different format, completely different theme, a whole different look. So I wanted to do something, you know, totally different than the last thing. So the first couple of videos are about making the cover, doing the paint finish on the cover, the inspiration, kind of prompt words for me, things I want to collect for materials. And I found myself, because in the last series that I did, I only allowed myself to use book page, and I had to create everything from book page. And I could, no paper packs or anything, all the embellishments, decorative papers, everything had to be created. So I've kind of really enjoyed that process. I'm not giving myself the same criteria for this one, but I'm finding that that's kind of what I'm doing anyway. So I am going to allow myself to use paper packs, but I have very few that kind of fit in with this this project. So I'm finding that I'm making them all my own again anyway. So that kind of led me to, I can do a digital kit at the end if it's all my own original work. So I'm going to be doing that too. I do have a lot of freebies. So if you look down in the description, I will have a link to this playlist so you can start from the beginning. But I will also have a freebie file, and you might check that from time to time because I'm going to be adding to it throughout the whole series. And then I also have background papers that I have already painted that are just backgrounds. They are 2 images per 8.5 by 11 page. And the reason that I do 2 images per 8.5 by 11 page is I like the scale of the designs. If I were to expand them to 8.5 by 11, my book is about half of that anyway. I'm going to have to cut it down, and then the scale of all my patterns is large. So I really like creating my artwork to the size that I'm actually going to use it, and then also offering it that way in my Etsy shop. You can blow it up to larger if you want before you print it, but that's just kind of why I'm doing the digital kits that I'm doing the way that I'm doing them. Now, if I have things that you can cut out, that sort of thing, those will be to scale the right size, and there'll be multiple items on an 8.5 by 11 page. So those will be at the end once I have this all together. But that's kind of what led me to today's video. The first part of this is going to be me showing you this first signature that I'm just about finished as far as I'm going to take it before it gets sewn into my book. And then I want to do a demo on some more decorative Gelli Plate prints that I'm going to be using to finish these up. So if you watched my series from the beginning, I had been making what I was calling these fresco finishes that look like water-stained walls. And those are what I have available now in my Etsy shop. I think there's about 10 or 11 pages with two images per page, so 22 images. So I have those in there now, but I'm creating some more. So let me go quickly through this first signature. In case you watched the last one, you can kind of see how it's turning out. So the other thing about Bodie is when you go visit there, it's like a state park, I guess. So you can't go into any of the buildings. They have let this, it's a ghost town, and they have let the town sort of age and deteriorate naturally. So it's unsafe to go into places. I mean, there's still furniture and things in all these buildings. So you can look through all the windows and take pictures, that kind of thing. So when you do that, you're always looking through something, and you just kind of feel like you're looking back in time because they have left everything in these buildings that people left behind. So it's really just kind of an interesting, eerie kind of thing. So I wanted my book to kind of have that same kind of feel where no matter where you're looking, you might be seeing through to something else. So I started, this first one is going to be, this first signature is going to be based on an actual house. And then the other ones will be other buildings within the ghost town. So this one, I took a front door. I actually took a photograph of a building and then took the front door, and I made a front door that you can see through. There'll be something here. There's lots of torn wallpaper and water-stained wallpaper in this, so I've added that on the inside of my door. Then there's, this was one of my fresco papers that I did. I go into how all the materials that I have here, how I created them in the last video. So you'll want to check that out if you want to know how I did any of these things. This one I didn't put in yet because I do want to scan this in. I'm going to maybe do some hand stitching on it, and this will be, you know, part of the digital kit if I've done any decorative things like that that you can cut out. So I've also altered all my photos to make them look old, even though I took these pictures. And then I've printed them on vellum. So I've added that. I went ahead and glued in, I did some hand stitching on this little vellum pocket. And this is a collage that I made from different music sheets. That's part of my, I think that's in the freebies. These photos are in the freebies. So there's lots in the freebie file. You want to check that out in the description. And then check it out from time to time because I'll keep adding as I go. So this is, you know, stuff I've shown in the last video. I haven't put him in there for sure yet because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him. I did go ahead and cut the mirror that was missing out of this dresser just for another little vellum pocket and put that in. I took out a couple of the folios that I was going to use. I had these in there too. It was going to get too thick for being able to add more to it. So I'm going to use these in a different signature. So I've taken some out, but I really like how leaving it out, then I can see the whole bit of my rusted fabric in here. So I kind of like that. And then I'm not sure, you know, about a couple of things yet, but I'm thinking they'll just get glued in, so I don't really need to put them in now yet anyway. So I haven't done anything there. I did go ahead and I wanted to do some stitching on this little pocket that's made out with a vellum and a piece of pattern paper. I went ahead and hand stitched just a little stitching on that and then glued that down. And then I wanted kind of a tab added to it because this is kind of a whole little fold out thing. So I've added that. This is from Tim Holtz paper pack. I don't know which one, probably Memoranda or something like that, but it's just from this page. I just cut a little strip off. So there's that. And then I'm still not sure about this one. So I kind of really like this photo up at the top of the page. So I'm not sure, but I'm not going to stitch it in, so it's fine. Then this one, I just love how she turned out. I showed in the last episode how I did printed on fabric. And this one, I don't think I mentioned, I printed it onto fabric that I had already distressed with some rusting and that sort of thing. So all this grunginess that you see, except for the edge, I did ink that. It was already dirty looking because I printed the photo onto grungy fabric. And then I decided, because of all the torn wallpaper and that kind of thing, to leave curly edges. So I did back her with some book page, just to kind of give it a little more thickness and make it sturdy for a pocket. So that way also I could leave that peeking out. So I kind of like that. And then I just took some more of that rusted fabric and dug through my old buttons and put those on too. I wanted to get that kind of finished before it gets put in. I thought it was easier with all the stitching. And then this one, I did go ahead. I just loved this piece of fabric. Now it's all buried under this card, but I did scan it in so that you can print it out. It'll be part of the digital kit. And I scanned it in because it's just, I love the fabric, how it turned out. These were the pieces that I took off, which they'll make nice tag size pieces that I can slow stitch on. But it was this one, and I just loved how it was going to look behind this piece that I had started. So I needed to sew it into the book too before I put it into my book. So I went ahead and stitched it on, and then just glued this piece of paper that I've mentioned before. This I made, so this will be part of my kit also. And then this little pocket, this will also be part of the kit. So I'll have some background papers available, and then some things that you can cut out to use too in your book. And then I went ahead and glued in my little piece of artwork. Again, that's on my fresco paper, one of my vellum printed photos, some of my rusted fabric, some of the rusty parts after rusting the fabric, a little piece of the wood, which I showed how I did that in the last video, and then I've made it a pocket. So this is all kind of ready to go into the book, so I'm going to get to working on my next signature. But today I wanted to do this video to show you another painting on a Gelli Plate technique that I'm going to be using for some of the cards and tucks and things. What happened was I went through my Tim Holtz paper packs that I had. I don't have a lot of vintage things, but I pulled out some that could go into this journal, but I just didn't have a ton and wasn't really loving everything. And then my problem is I can't then put these in a digital kit because of licensing. So I needed to create some of my own papers again so that I can make those available. So what I decided to do was to do some jelly printing that made me feel like I had a wallpaper pattern. I had done the fresco finishes like you know that I have in my Etsy shop, and I had done some on some Tim Holtz worn wallpaper, and I just love how they came out, but I can't use these in my digital kit because of licensing. So I need to make my own, and I like the texture. I like that there's wallpaper in the background, and then I did my fresco painting over that. And I went online to see if I could find some public domain wallpaper that looked vintage. You can spend hours and hours doing that, and I kind of wasn't really finding anything that I liked. And then when I'd go to print it out, maybe the quality wasn't there anyway, which is okay because they're backgrounds. So I had a light bulb moment. And I thought, you know, I took all these pictures of wallpaper. And so I have my own photos. I can just make my own wallpaper, painted papers. So I took, these are all done. Let's see. I printed some on 2 different things. So I took, I ended up with 6 different wallpapers from my photographs that I could use for background. So this one, you can see they are very, the quality is very foggy, I guess I would say, because I took these through Windows for one, but then I'm taking a picture of a whole room. So in order to get just a piece of wallpaper, I had to crop just a clear piece that didn't have furniture or things in front of it. By the time you do that and blow it up, they all come out really grainy and not very good quality. But that's okay, because I just want it's a background. I just want the background with the tears and all that kind of stuff. So these two, and this is beautiful water stain, but you can see the wallpaper, you can barely make it out, but that's okay. So I've put 2 images per 8.5 by 11 sheet, and this one I printed just on 32-pound hammer mill paper, which I've been using a lot for some of my painting. It's nice, it's heavier, it's not as heavy as cardstock, but it's durable enough to do my paint on, and then it dries fine. So I'm gonna do some on that. And I've only printed one side of these because I wanted to show you that it's just regular paper. But you could print on both sides, like if you wanted to use these as a card or something. This is thin enough that I'm going to be gluing it to something else to make, if I wanted to use it as a card. So it's okay to not print it on the back side. I could paint it, you know, if I want to, just to have it not be white. So I'm going to work on some of that. And then the other thing I liked about the Tim Holtz worn wallpaper paper was the texture of it. So I'm going to show you 2 things that we can do. One is I had a book, a paper pack, and it's this one. I've had it for a long time, so I don't know if it's still available or not, but I will look and see. And if this is textured cardstock, I'll see if it's still available and put the link down below. But it's the closest thing I had, you know, when I couldn't find wallpapers, I thought, wait, I have a book that I think is kind of wallpapery. And so I thought this is perfect because it's not printed on one side. And it has that kind of texture to it. So I thought I can use that because if I do my own painting on the back side, I can use that. So in my kits. So I liked having that texture for my book. Now, I will have to show you how you can get the texture at your end if you're going to be printing them out. So I'll show you how you can do that. So I've gone ahead and I printed out my, I ended up with 6 that I liked. You can see how kind of fuzzy these are, but I like them. So these 2 were on one page, and then these 2 are on a page, I think. Oh no, yeah. These 2, and then these 2. So you'll get all these backgrounds. So how I decided to was jelly plating again over these so that they look better than just photocopies of bad photos. So let's get my jelly plate and we'll put that there right in frame. So I've been not cleaning this because I do like all the grunge for what I'm doing, and I haven't been cleaning my brayer either. So you can kind of see some of the pattern back there, but that's all good because I want that for my finish. So how I started was because I want it to be like layers and layers, wallpaper over wallpaper, is I took my embossing plate. I showed this in the last one. It's from Doris, and I can't remember the name of it again, but I'll put the link for this. I just got it. It was kind of a nice wallpapery patterned thing. I was looking for tin ceiling, but I found this and I thought it works great. This, you could see it better because I put paint on it already. So I'm kind of using this as a texture stamp. So I've just printed, embossed a piece of the hammer mill paper. You could do cardstock and it would be sturdier, but this seems to be working. I started this one this morning and I used it quite a few times before it was getting kind of too wet. Now it's dry again, so I can use it. But these are really just for texture. So I'll start with this new one. And then I'll show you kind of how they turn out. So I'm just working with a couple of colors, but you can see I did it over my wallpaper. And this one's over the actual wallpaper too. I'll use these. I don't know that I can put these in the digital kit again because it's on another decorative paper, but I'll have plenty, I think, just for my own photos that I can offer to you. This is another one. This one is just on the, this one I printed onto cardstock, so it's a little thicker. So I kind of maybe like that. I think for these demos, I've done it on the thinner paper, but this is on just kind of an off-white cardstock that I had. And this is, before I've done any painting, so I'll show you the difference. And then this one again is what the wallpaper paper pack looked like. So I printed onto the back side of that. So that's what I've done on the ones that I'm going to work on today. And that way, let's see, it's these. So I printed these from my photos onto some of those papers. So to do that, I just, the pack was 12 by 12. So I just cut the papers down to 8.5 by 11. And if you care about the direction, like if the wallpaper pattern, you know, has a top and a bottom, instead of turning this way, just be aware when you cut the paper that when you print them out, they're going to be going the right direction. And if you're not using them as cards, you may not care. But I did that. I kind of cut them out in what didn't seem like the correct direction, you know, but I knew my papers were going to be printed out this way. So instead of making them this way, if that makes any sense. Hopefully I didn't confuse you, but you get it. So I'm just going to put some paint on here and show you what I did. So I'm just going to use 2 colors today. I think I might play around with one other one, but because I'm keeping my thing neutral, but I need some contrast sometimes, I'm using a light gray. This one's called Timeless Gray, and it's just these are Apple Barrel. I'm not sure if I get these at Michael's or at Walmart, but they're just cheap acrylic paint. And then this one's Antique Parchment. I've been using this one a lot for the light color. So I'm just going to, let me start with maybe a dark one because you'll be able to see it better. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit of paint, and I don't really want to cover the whole thing anyway because I want it to just kind of have that fresco look. I might have needed a little bit more than that, but let's see. Put it back on here. Sorry about the glare from the light, but I need to see. Okay, and then I'm just going to put this down so you can see I pulled up a little bit. I don't have very much paint on there. And then I'm going to grab maybe this one because I think it'll show up better. Now see, I didn't have enough paint, so it's just here and there, which is fine. You know, you add more or add another color, because the whole point is I want it to look torn and old and tattered. Okay. And I'm just using the same one over and over again to get my pattern. And you can just, you know, you don't even have to do it in the center. You can kind of just get it here or there. So I'm going to let that one dry because then I'll add another color on top of that one. And let's see what this one looks like. I don't know if I have enough ink on there. This one I'm going to add the light color now. I mean, these couldn't be easier, you know. And you don't have to do this pattern every time. You know, you can, maybe you have a couple of different, maybe you have a stencil or something else. I really don't have very many stencils, stamps, embossing folders. I'm pretty new to this, so I just don't have very many things. So you can see, you know, the other wallpaper through, and then using that stamp, the embossing paper as a stamp, you get another wallpaper pattern on top of that. So I kind of liked how that looked. And then I can do, you know, the back side too, just so it's not, you know, from a paper pack. I'm going to paint on that too. So let's go back to this one and just add some more light to it. And then you can also add watermarks, and I'll show you how I did that in case you haven't been watching this whole series. Easy peasy. See, I just kind of like that. It just gives you that wallpaper look that you made on your own. So, you know, you may have some old wallpaper books, actual wallpaper books, and you can either, you know, take scans or photos of them and then do this, or do it on the actual wallpaper. So I'll keep working on, let's do another one. What the heck? Let's do this one with some light. Actually, I think I'm going to do the gray and then do the light with no pattern on it. So I didn't know when I was getting these embossing folders, I just imagined I would be embossing with them and then, dyeing that. I didn't think about using them as a stamp on my Gelli Plate until this morning when I had this dilemma of I need to make some wallpaper. I can't find any I like. So that is with the pattern over another pattern. And then this one I'm not gonna stamp. I'm just gonna so then you kind of get that plaster kind of look. You can do more or less, whatever. The other kind of nice thing about using this textured paper is, I don't know if you can see, but it actually leaves the texture on your plate also. And that way, if you use one, then, I don't know if this will be enough to show up, but now if I go and use this paper on here, if I can get a pull, that texture will also come up on my flat paper. See, I don't know if you can see that. There's not enough of it, enough of the paint left. Let me do it one more time and see. Let's do it with this one. So there's a couple of ways to, let's see. I want texture, so I'm going to start with, I think I'll do a pattern on this one since I'm very subtle pattern. So I'm going to do this. Some of these feel more textured. I'll do it on this one. I don't know if it's running it through the coffee machine kind of flattens some of the texture. So I'm going to do it on this one because this one still feels pretty good. Okay, so now you see my texture on my plate. So now if I go back with a clear piece, in a perfect world, yeah, you can see that, I think. Let's see. Yeah, see the texture on there now? So if you use a textured paper first, just have enough paint on there so that you'll get another pull, another good pull, and you can get that wallpaper texture coming through. The other way, I'm going to try two ways actually, and I haven't tried this. I'm going to use my scrim on my Gelli Plate. Now I haven't tried this. I've done it with Mod Podge at the end, which I will show because I know that works. I'm going to cut because I want to use this for something else. I'm just going to tear a piece. So I use scrim all the time. I get questions about where can you get it. I did find some online, and I'll put the link down below. You had to order maybe more than you want to order. So I've been tempted to order a large quantity and then break it down in my Etsy shop for you. But this is scrim. It's just gauzy fabric. It's a little tighter weave than cheesecloth is why I like it. Because it's just a nice texture. I like the weight of it. But it's called scrim, S-C-R-I-M. So I'm going to put a little of this down and see what kind of print I can make with my... I don't think I've done this before with this fabric. I've done it with other things. The fabric is nice because it won't hurt your Gelli Plate. You know, if you used metal or something like that, it would. So I'm just going to make some texture. See if it works. And a little thread line there, which is kind of cool. And let's see, where will it show up? Do I have another plain? This might be too light. I need we'll do this one. I need a piece of flat paper. Let's see, I didn't have enough paint on it, but you can kind of see that does work. So that's kind of nice. So you can get your wallpaper texture from scrim on the Gelli Plate. And that's going to look so pretty because it's got so much going on there. think I want to use my stamp on top of that. I want to go over this one again. So the nice thing is if something's not turning out or you just don't like it, just keep adding till you like it. So I'll keep playing with these and get some really nice, hopefully some nice things. Let me show you the other way to get texture. And one thing I did too, gotta find which one I was gonna show you. This morning when I was playing around, these were done on cardstock, and you get kind of a grittiness to the feel of it. And if you don't want that, a quick, easy thing to do is just get some really, really fine sandpaper. I have this as just like a block, and just knock that down just like you would anything, and it'll be smooth again. You know, that's because I'm layering matte finished paint, acrylic paint. It's just matte, and so it kind of can feel not really good. So if you want it to not be rough, you can just smooth it out. So I've done that. Now let's see, because this one's flat, I'm going to do this one with my Mod Podge. We'll get rid of that. So I do this with old photos. You know how when you have an old photo from like a photographer studio, the old photos have kind of a fabric-y texture to them. I have shown this way back in an old video, how I aged photos or photocopy old photos, but then give them the texture like they're the original. There's an old video I have, and maybe I'll try to find it, put a link down below, of how I did that. This is the technique that I used to get that grainy effect. So I'm just taking matte Mod Podge and painting it all over the surface. And then I'm going to take a piece of my scrim and then lay it down and just pull it up. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Oop, this is changing the color of my ink really bad. But that's a look. It's just kind of purple. So I guess that's not the greatest idea because I didn't set my my ink first. So what I should have done is, and I'll do a demo now. Do I have one I can do that on camera? Probably not, because I've painted on all of them. So what you would normally do, now this would be a really pretty background. I actually like the color, maybe not for this journal, and it's not showing up on camera, but it's really kind of turning a lot of purpley pink in there, which is really kind of pretty. So if you don't want that to happen though, you need to use your iron with no steam and just heat set the ink first before you do this. And I think that should work. I'll do a demo and try, and then if it doesn't work still, I'll put a note down in the description that I tried it and it did not work. But I'm thinking that heat setting the ink on the paper first will. So that's what I wanted to show you today. I'm going to work on some more papers so that I have some wallpaper patterned paper that I can use in my journal for cards and decorative elements, pockets, that kind of thing. And then I'll make these part of the kit too. So that's what I am going to work on. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.